Yeah, family, join me in congratulating Kayla for being June's Member of the Month.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you.
So, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Oh, about me. Well, I am a widow mother of one, Miss Ava. If you've seen her at the gym, she's a little fireball of blonde hair and energy running around. From a workout perspective, I started back with like The Biggest Loser. Like when Biggest Loser was on, I was the one watching it, motivating myself. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to go run because I started work, got in college. You know, we got the 15 plus that happens with college. So started doing some running, and then I'm like, I want to start lifting. So then I start lifting, moved around a bunch. Moved down to Puerto Rico, moved back up here. And then I decided here that I was going to get guilted into joining a CrossFit. And I say guilted because it was really, Jason Colbreth owned CrossFit Raleigh, which was the first CrossFit here in this area. And one day he was like, you gonna come? You gonna join? And I was like, I don't know about this. He's like, oh, whatever. You're gonna be just like the guy that you're dating and not show up at all. And I was like, oh, and those are like the key words, like threaten me with something. And I'm like, okay. And then
prove them wrong or something like that.
I did. I had to prove them wrong. And so here I am. I'd been running half marathons. I did the City of Oaks a couple times. And I was like, what's CrossFit? You know, I'll try it out. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the atmosphere. And back then it was, we were doing 30-minute WODs. That was it. You'd come in, you do a WOD for 30 minutes. And then you'd leave, and you would lift every so often, and it was very much the workout for 3 days. Thursday, usually no one was there, or they'd be doing light work, and then we'd work out Friday and suffer on Saturday, of course, and that was our longer days. And loved it. Met my husband, moved back to Illinois, where I was originally from. Went with CrossFit North Peoria, and I was there, worked out all through my pregnancy, had Ava. Really enjoyed working out with her because the owners were great. They'd walk around with her, really let me kind of have my time to myself.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately my husband suffered a heart attack and passed, and suddenly my whole world crashed. And CrossFit was there for me. Like really the family there really stepped it up. They brought me food. I would show up to work out even through all this grief, and they would take Ava, walk around with her so that I could have that moment to just kind of recollect and be myself for, even if it was 45 minutes, just have
that me time.
This is my me time. And then life just started happening. Like in the winters, it got really difficult to get from work up to my daughter, who was 30 minutes away at daycare, then back 30 minutes into the gym. It just got too much. And I fell off the CrossFit bandwagon. I was working out in my gym a little bit in the garage, kind of doing my own thing. I'd have a friend come over, and you just kind of lose that motivation when that family aspect's not there. And so I kind of took that hiatus. And then I moved here. I moved into a house that was next to Matt and Kirsten and Brandon. And we'd sit out in the driveway and have drinks. And they're like, when are you going to come back? When are you going to come and join CrossFit? And I was like, no, the weight's caught up, COVID, plus 15, plus. My days of CrossFit are done. They're like, okay. Hey, you want another drink? When are you going to come to CrossFit?
That was their way of reeling you in.
They just finally, one day I was like, fine, you know what? I will come back and see what it's about. Because I tried a few gyms, and they just hadn't meshed well with my being a single parent and everything like that. And then I came here, and the moment I walked in the door, people walking up, what's your name? Tell me a little bit about you. It was very much that family atmosphere that I had missed from my last two gyms. So that sold it. Like the fact that Ava could come here and be herself, and she wasn't tried to be curbed down. She knows the etiquette of weights and motion. She's not on the floor, but she could still be a kid, and I could be a parent again, and but also be myself. So honestly, that is what sold it. So here I am, back in the CrossFit juice in the world again.
Yeah, but I think it's funny how that kind of brought you back into it or whatever, because you talk about how some of the stuff that you've already talked about with starting when did you start originally? You said like 16 years ago or something like
Yeah,
that.
I think it was right around 2007, 2008. Back before there was opens, back before like we competed in the first ever North Carolina, South Carolina sectionals, which was a really interesting thing back when the games were just getting started.
Yeah, because that's what the Open is now, right?
Right. And then they did that a few years, and then then the Open came along, and so then everyone got that opportunity, which was kind of neat because even if you aren't that elite athlete, the opportunity to come in and be like, I want to try what they're doing, maybe scale it down a little bit, but I want to try and see that accomplishment is really neat. It's a neat programming that they've come around to.
Yeah, I mean it's cool because like you started so long ago, right? And then you moved out of the area and stuff, and then now you're kind of like getting back into the, like you said, drinking the juice, the Kool-Aid or whatever, right? That's cool. And I mean, and then did they have to dare you to get back into the gym? Is that what happened?
Yeah, pretty much. Because they're like, when are you going to come back? And then, of course, Matt's always, are you going to come at 6? I was like, absolutely not.
It's like I'm sticking to my noon class time.
I am very much a nooner or the afternoon. I like my sleep in the morning. I like to get my breakfast in, my kind of time.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not the morning person. If I'm here at 8:30 on a Saturday,
Something's wrong.
I'm going to be extra feisty.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, we don't need that, right? No.
I'm usually extra feisty just to the coaches. So.
Awesome. And then, I mean, you started CrossFit like 16 years ago. It took a little bit of hiatus, and then you joined back in, October last year, you said?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And then it's been the best thing since sliced bread, right? No.
It has. I mean, when you look back when I started, to date, I've lost 20 pounds, almost 20 pounds, just short of. I couldn't walk a mile. I had injured myself in 2019, had a knee injury, had tried to rehab it, was still having issues with my knee. So I wasn't able to walk with my daughter. My weight was inhibiting me from being able to do things with her. Even struggling, like trying to get that right position to tie your shoe where you're like, I just have all this extra cushion. And being back, losing the weight, I'm walking, we're up to 6,000-7,000 steps a day without pain. I don't have my back pain anymore. I used to not be able to stand. Now I'm helping coach her soccer team. I'm going to swim meets. I'm standing a bunch. I've got my lifts back. Lifting was heavy has always been my thing. I'm not a speed person, so there's a place for everyone here.
Yeah.
I'm back to my 285 squats.
Yeah.
I'm almost to 300 on my deadlifts. I'm almost to 200 on my bench press, and those are things that I had fallen away from, and now I'm like, in just a short period of time, I've made so much progress to get that back.
Yeah. Are you gonna go running marathons again?
Absolutely not. My body, so I only ran half marathons, and my body at mile 6 says that's enough. I can do 6 miles. At 7, my body says and it starts breaking down. So I'm a shorter distance person, but I like riding. So put me on a bike, I'll cycle, be happy. I'd rather not run ever again.
You stick to cycling and lifting weights, right?
And rowing, yes. I do love rowing.
And so when we were talking and stuff, and then I didn't know this about you, but you said you used to drive rickshaws in downtown Raleigh. Were you like running those, or were you biking those?
Biking those. So if you go to
that, say you ran so much your whole life.
No.
Okay.
I am a very social person. If people haven't figured that out for me yet, and I don't like to be bored. So this was pre-child.
Okay.
I would work. I do data analytics now, but I was an accountant beforehand, so I would go do all my closing work, and then I needed something fun to do, and I got into cycling, doing the MS-150, and then some of the people from the MS-150 started doing the rickshaw, which is the pedicab. Yeah. And they're like, well, come and join it. And so I was like, oh, why not? So I was one of like 2 women that were hired by Raleigh Rickshaw, and I would work Friday and Saturday night from about 5:30 p.m. until 3 a.m.
Jeez.
And I loved it because I saw my friends that were at the bars. I didn't spend any money. I made money. Yeah. And I got a good workout in. And it was an excuse to act absolutely crazy. I had music. You could just let loose because everyone else was letting loose. So it was a lot of fun. And I met some really cool people.
Interesting. Yeah, when you said that, I was like, what the heck is a rickshaw?
Yep. It's definitely a bike that has a cart on the back. And I think one of the most entertaining stories was I picked up 3 full-size men, and I picked them up at the bottom of Glenwood Hill, and they wanted to go to the warehouse district.
And you had to bike them.
So from a full stop, I had to go all the way up the hill with these 3 full-size men in the back of my cart. And so I'm standing on the pedal going up the hill, and everybody at Hibernian, because at the time they had outdoor seating, it was before the fire, and all the people are standing outside watching me, and they're like, because here I am, this little thing, like, pedaling these people up the hill.
Have you ever had like a situation where you couldn't move somebody or whatever, or like they just had so much stuff that were trying to move with you that you couldn't do it?
So I've had a couple moments where, like, we were doing a scavenger hunt, and I had a few fuller size people in the back, and I can't get enough speed if I'm starting from partway up a hill. So I usually have a good way of working around with people, and so they were like, well, we want to win. I was like, well, then you better push. So they all jump out and start pushing me, so I just put my feet up, and here I am. The 3 people are like pushing me up the hill.
They're pushing you around, right? Rather
They
than pushing them
were.
around.
So it's all about how you can finagle things to work out for you. But yeah, there have been a couple times where it's been really challenging, and you can feel all those muscles working, and then you're like, oh, and this is why I can squat a person.
Yeah. But and then it's like the next day you probably woke up and you were just like extremely sore or whatever.
Not so much.
Okay.
Like, because I was doing it so often, and then I was riding during the week, and I mean, you go through a lot of food. So like the stop was 3 a.m. We're done. Go run to Cookout, get my grilled sandwich, go home, like eat.
Okay. How long did you do that for? Until you had Ava, or until you moved to Peoria?
Till I met my husband, so I did it for 2 years.
Okay.
Downtown, because Raleigh Rickshaw started, and then I did it, so it'd be 2010, 2011, I think it was. Somewhere between 9 and 11 is when I was doing it.
Interesting. Okay. I had no idea that about you. And also about like the living in Puerto Rico for a whole year. I guess,
did.
Was that for like your husband's job and y'all went down
No,
there?
this was pre. So here I am out of college, and I went to a rotational program. And I specifically joined this company to avoid Chicago, because I'm born and raised in Illinois. I didn't want to live in Chicago. I was born and raised 3 hours away, so we were not even suburb. And they sent me to Chicago, and I was like, it's the one job that I accepted that I didn't want to, like, I didn't want to live in Chicago. So 6 months in Chicago, they call me up in February, and they're like, hey, we want to start this rotational program in Puerto Rico. Would you want to go down there and start it? And I was like, I look outside, it's snowing. I was like, absolutely. When can we leave? So I moved down there to start a rotational program for a year. While I was down there, they ended up deciding to close the plant. So I was the first and only DP down there. But also, this was the year, not to date myself, but this was the year of Katrina and Rita. And so it didn't impact the island at all, but it definitely, when it hit the States, because Puerto Rico is a import nation, we saw huge problems with our importation of our lettuce. You can only get iceberg lettuce there. You couldn't get any other kind of lettuce. The milk lasted like 2 days because of how long it took to get there, and then how long it had been sitting at the ports. So there were a lot of challenges that happened at that time. So it was I did amazing things. You can drive around the entire island in a day. You can see all of the different parts. Like, it's a beautiful place to visit. I highly recommend it. There's so many neat things there. But living there was a whole different matter.
I mean, I wonder how much better it would have been if you didn't have to go through the stuff with Katrina or things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just part of it. So you kind of learn. Everything's unionized there. So the truckers went on strike. You didn't have gas. The electric went on strike. You didn't have power. The water company would go on strike, and you wouldn't have water. So it was a normal thing you got used to. You're like, oh, I don't have water today. Okay, I'm going to go to the bar for a bit.
Oh, God. Yeah. We'll go hang out at the watering hole.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what happened. You just kind of, it is the way of, like, there's no point in getting upset about it because you can't change it. So you're just like, okay. We're going to do something different today.
Jeez. Okay. Interesting. And so, kind of coming back to TCF and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I know you kind of talked about a little bit of your challenges before joining the TCF family and stuff like that. What do you think your absolute biggest challenge was before the TCF family?
I think it's the mental challenge of feeling like not being able to do things that I want to do with my daughter, the finding the time, like being a single parent, it's extremely difficult because you've got all their activities, taking them to school, making sure they're reading, and then, you know, COVID happens. Everyone was trying to just survive at that point. And so not having people around that I could work out with, and not having the energy or the time, really, because it becomes 9 o'clock is when you can work out because you've been running so much with your kid.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, all I want to do is sit down and put my feet up. Like, I don't want to go work out. I don't want to go out to the garage. I know it's just a few feet away, but it's just that lack of motivation was that biggest challenge. So taking that first step, I think, is probably the hardest thing for me to get over. But it was the easiest thing to get over, right? It was the hardest and the easiest.
Right. And then how'd that challenge make you feel?
It's very humbling, but it's very depressing too. When you can't do all those things that you know you want to, and your daughter says, I want to ride this ride, and you actually have to sit there and question yourself, and you're like, can I fit? Can I fit in those seats? Do I have to ask for extender? Like, so many things that when you become plus size, and especially being a plus size female out in the world these days, like, there's so many internal struggles that we have to go through that I was going through at that time. Like, you see all these cute outfits you want to wear and they don't make them in your size. It's not size inclusive. You're constantly shamed into, you have to eat less and exercise more, and we all know that's the exact opposite, right? We need to eat everything. We need to exercise. And so it's very defeating. You don't know when to start. You don't know how to start. You don't, because you're like, oh, I want to go run today, and then your knees go, I think you aren't. You're not going to run at all. So then you're like, now what do I do? Like, I've been programmed to work out this way, and it's so, I guess, there's no other word. Like, it's very defeating and hard to deal with all that.
Jeez, I mean, and I guess from doing it's crazy too, doing all the other stuff you were doing, the half marathons, the rickshaw, the whatever else you were doing before, and then having kind of like that kind of holding you back. I mean,
it's big. And even coming in here now, I mean, there's things like, I knew that I could do pull-ups. I knew that I could do full burpees. I knew that I could lift all this weight. And then realizing, no, you can't. You got to start all over.
Oh, you're talking about, so like when you initially started CrossFit, you could do all those things, and then...
Yeah, and then coming back to CrossFit, like, I have to reset my mind and go, it's okay. It's okay that I can't do a burpee right now. It's okay. You know what? I will do up downs. And the other day I came up and I was like, oh my God, I did a kip. I didn't do a pull-up, but I did a kip.
Yeah, I was able to do that.
Right. And it's like, so these little things are starting to come back. So it's those little things when people are like, whoa, but you go to CrossFit, everyone's all elite. Yeah, they are. There's a lot of them that are, but none of them judge you ever here. I am never judged. And I mean, I've got Kate and Imelda and so many people that are like, if they see me, I may be the last person being done, but they're like, I will do the last few with you. And they're up there doing squats with me, or they're doing sit-ups. They finished the work and they've done heavier weight than I have, but they're still taking that time to make me feel that I'm not alone, which is so helpful in this.
Yeah. I mean, that's the cool thing about the community, right? I mean, we're all here to support each other. We all have those similar kind of thoughts and kind of things that we're shooting for, right?
Yes.
And then we're here to support everyone to achieve that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, like, what other positive impacts have you seen since joining the TCF family?
I have a whole new group of people. Like, really, my world has opened back up. Just joining book club, meeting the great trainers that we have here, and finding my own self again, and my positivity internally has been huge with joining here again. And just like these small wins, being like, oh my God, I'm accomplishing this, and I'm doing this again, and the weight's not coming off as quickly, but my strength's coming back. So it's like I'm finding all of these positive things.
Well, and then also like looking at the stuff you already mentioned earlier, like you can help coach your daughter's soccer team, right? And then you can also just go and do more things with her, right? I mean, like the weight doesn't matter as much as, hey, you're able to do more things, and then that stuff, the weight and stuff will happen over time,
right?
And then, I mean, as you're getting stronger, you're gonna build muscle.
It'll
right?
come.
Oh yeah.
It'll come.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a lap around our 1.5 laps around the neighborhood last night, which is about 1.5 miles, and we hadn't been able to do that for a while. So we did that last night just as part of it, and that was a change of the way that we do things, because it used to be come home from her swim or for tutoring, sit on the couch, we'll make dinner, and that's it. But this time I'm like, hey, I gotta get my steps in. She's like, let's go. And so she grabs her scooter and we go around and do our stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a new thing that we are starting to do.
Yeah, and then it's cool because that gives y'all another bonding moment and get y'all doing things together, getting her active too.
Oh, she's huge active. So anything that she can get outside, like, she's excited about.
Let's burn some
So-
energy.
Exactly.
And then anything that you would say, or what would you say to somebody that's on the fence about joining?
So, and I talk about CrossFit. I mean, it's all CrossFitters, right? We can't help ourselves but talk about CrossFit. The opposite of Fight Club.
Yeah,
But
right.
I always tell people that you see all these CrossFit games and things like that, and you're like, these are elite athletes. Can I fit in? Absolutely. You can scale anything. Don't be scared. Like, we have people here, right, that are from beginner all the way up to competing at game level.
Yeah.
No one ever judges here.
Right.
No one you don't have that ego. So come in, try it out. Like, if you're walking and that's all you can do while you're here, that's okay. If you have to use
Exactly.
a box every time you do a push-up, that's okay. No one will judge you, and everyone will be here to cheer you on.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's like you said, the different backgrounds and then just the different types of people and what you can and can't do. I mean, doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Everything is infinitely scalable, adjustable, and things like that. So, anything else that you'd like to add?
The only thing I would add is, so I am big into the military widow community. So if anyone ever wants to know anything about the Gary Sinise Foundation, all the different organizations locally and nationwide, we do Operation 300, we do Camp Hometown Heroes, and a lot of these are opening up to first responder widows as well and their families. So I am happy to share that information and talk about these amazing opportunities and how people can donate their time or their money or their resources.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. And then again, Kayla, congrats.
Thank you.
Yep. And congratulations for being the member of the month for June. And then hopefully everybody learned a little bit more about you like I did.
Yes.